been about a month since I've done any work on the bench. Today, I'm going to start working on the tail vise section. Now, it's not a traditional tail vise with a screw and all that kind of stuff. Instead, I'm going to be using wedges and shims. Now, I'm going to use a regular dog here, which is going to go into a board. There'll probably be 2 holes in that board. And this board is going to slide back and forth in this groove. And it's going to be held in place with some shims and some wedges right here, so I can force it either this way or back this way. It's just a very different way of doing it. Now, in order to make this happen, I'm going to use my router to make this section wider so that those wedges can fit in and won't just fall all the way down. What I have on here is actually a slot cutter, because I couldn't find any other type of bit that would work for this. I couldn't use any chisels or anything because I'm going to be making a slot which is about 3 inches in, and there's no way to get a chisel down there. So I've never done anything quite like this, and I'm not exactly sure how bad the chip out is going to be, because this slot cutter bit is actually going to be cutting on both sides of this hole at the same time, and that might cause a problem. Now, I've set up a stop on this end and on this end right at 2 inches, and hopefully that means that the bit will just barely get to the end. The bit's going to take off about 3/8 of an inch on each side. Because the diameter of the slot bit is so wide, I went ahead and put the router on the slowest speed possible, which in this case is 10,000 RPMs. So I'm finding that the easiest way to ensure that I'm making a safe cut when I'm turning this on is to rest it back a little bit, turn it on, then grab it, and then let it go back down into the hole. Before I was putting my hand on top, which means at some point I only had one hand. And now that I'm deeper into this hole, I don't think that's such a good idea. If I center it right in the middle, neither side of that bit is hitting the wall. So when I lean it back, that curve keeps it right in place. I don't have to worry about it going off. So when I go down, it's not going to hit either side. So I'm simply unloosening it, and then I'm taking it up probably less than 1/16 of an inch each time. I don't feel comfortable doing it more than that. I've decided I'm going to go ahead and go down an entire inch before I start transitioning to dividing this into another section. I now have 2 slots which are at a depth of 1 inch. And for my final pass, I went on both sides, so I know they are exactly the same depth. It doesn't really matter whether it's an inch, I just want them to be the same. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put another board across to act as a stop, pretty much right in the middle. It's going to be 8 inches from this front edge. And I'm going to route out this back area even deeper so that eventually I can get my slot cutter to run even deeper through the front section without cutting out this area right here. Down as deep as I can go with my current setup. So what I'm going to do now is remove the center board, and I'm going to go all the way at this deepest depth towards the front, creating a groove. Now I can't do this all at once because this bit is going to be biting into both sides. So I'll go in about half of the width of the bit, and then I'll go out, and then I'll change the height and go in again, and then lower it back to the original height and go back and forth until eventually I get all the way to the end of the slot. Okay, at this point there's nothing left to bind, so I'm going to do my final depth, and then I'm going to raise up the bit to do my final height of this other groove that I am creating. So this is the last cut on the bottom. Now I need to create a groove. I want it to be at least 1/4 of an inch, if not more. Okay, let me clean this up and then we'll take a look at it. Here is the finished result. There we go. So there is a groove on the top, and then I have a second groove. It's really hard to see, but that's going to allow a block to slide in and out here and not kind of pull out. However, I'm going to be able to take this block all the way back, and where that second groove is not, that'll allow me to take this block out when I need to remove dust and any general repair I might need to do to keep it running nice and smoothly. So I think that is all for today. It's Halloween, and I think kids are going to be out in about half an hour, so I need to go get the candy ready. And I think next up is going to be doing some chisel work to clean everything up. And I haven't decided whether I want to keep this round and just use a router bit with a smaller diameter and bring it around or not. But I do know that this side will need to be squared off.